Right, all set up. Omegyanatimirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dandavat pranams to all the assembled Vaishnavas and sincere seekers. And just arrived to Navadip Dham. It's so good to be in Mahaprabhu's lands, in the shelter of our Gurudev's temple, and our Gurudev's deities and our Gurudev's devotees. So I feel very blessed to be here. I'm just looking at Govinda Kund across here and listening to the Prema Dhamma Deva Stotram, which is going on right now. So all auspicious things. So we are continuing with our Upadeśāmṛta reading, and I am getting my laptop repaired, so I'm on the iPad today. I may not see if someone raises their hands, but if you put something in the chat, then I think I should see that. So here we are. We've come to verse number 9. And so these, as I mentioned last week, or in our last meeting, right, there's a gradation, there's an evolution of consciousness, an evolution of understanding, development, realization that's taking place, right? And that's being described in the Upadeśāmṛta. And so Upadeśāmṛta is beginning from like a very basic level. Oh, wait, we have a, oh, it's shaking. I have a message saying it's shaking a lot. Yeah, I need to put this down somewhere. Okay, maybe I'll sit here. There we go. There we go. Okay, yeah, thank you for that. It's better for me too. So right, so there's this, right, that's right, Upadeśāmṛta starting at a very basic level, right? And for this reason, Upadeśāmṛta is very helpful and very practical, right? I was just talking about that with Murari Prabhu on our way here in the car, how it's such a practical and relevant text for us, because it's almost like taking us by the hand, like at our very human level, and step by step taking us to more evolved levels of consciousness and practice. So Upadeśāmṛta is like really starting at the most basic level, right? Facing our human condition, right? That we have these urges. We have the urges of all these urges of the body and the mind that we have to deal with on a daily basis, right? The urges of the tongue, the belly, the genitals, the mind, anger, all these things which are actually like quite embarrassing, right? That we may not even talk about, right? Like these things that we have to deal with every day, it's like we don't even talk about them most of the time because they're just embarrassing, right? So it's actually pretty amazing, right? That Rupa Goswami is like starting off like, yeah, I know you deal with all these things, right? And I know it's embarrassing and it's uncomfortable and it's awkward, but it's okay. You're human. This is the human condition, right? And I'm just a doctor and we're just dealing with this straight on, right? And it's a reminder of us too, right? To just be like grounded and aware of what our human condition is, right? Like nowadays, I hear this phrase going around sometimes of spiritual bypassing, right? Like you just kind of bypass your actual condition in Krishna consciousness, and you jump to these like higher levels, but you're ignoring the fact that you're here, right? You're kind of like pretending you're somewhere else, jumping to really high things without really dealing where you are on a human level, right? Welcome, Chaitanya Doya, Ananta Shesh, great to have you with us, Suvasini Didi, Dandavat. So there's no bypassing, there's no spiritual Dandavat Didi. there's no spiritual bypassing going on in Upadeśāmṛta, right? Rupa Goswami just facing it head on from the very beginning. Like, yeah, you've got all these things going on that you have to deal with, right? And you're just go on struggling with them, go on with your practice, and you will make progress, right? So Rupa Goswami is starting from this like super basic level, and then gradually going to higher and higher stages of development and stages of thought. And so that brings us to this verse number 9, which is one of the more elevated verses of Upadeśāmṛta, which is exclusively dealing with our ideal, setting our ideal. Yeah, I mean, the way I'm looking at it now, this is such an amazing text of Rupa Goswami. Like, just really amazing that it's only 11 verses, and in these 11 verses he's covered so much, and it's also so grounded, right, in this awareness of our humanness and our human condition, that we're here and this is where we want to go, right? It's all here in these 11 verses. So in this 9th verse, that ideal is being established, right? In these last couple of verses of Upadesh, the last 3 verses or so, Rupa Goswami is looking at this more elevated aspect of what is Krishna consciousness, what is Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and exclusively looking at the ideal that we are aspiring after, but may not be so relevant in our current stage of practice in a practical sense, right? It's relevant in us understanding where our gurus are trying to take us, right? But may not be so relevant in a practical sense in our day-to-day life, right? And so this verse number 9 is actually really important for us. I'm thinking of like the lectures I've heard from Srila Govinda Maharaj and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and I'm thinking this verse may be the verse that I've heard them quote more than any other verse in Upadeśāmṛta. And particularly, I'm thinking with our Gurudev Srila Govinda Maharaj, I heard him quote this verse so many times. It's so, but no, Srila Sridhar Maharaj also. Yeah, quite possibly this verse has been cited by them more than any of the other verses. It's because it's really focused on this gradation within levels of rasa, right, and different service domains in the spiritual sky. And for anyone who has some familiarity with Srila Sridhar Maharaj's style of discourse, gradation is so important to him. It's something that he emphasizes so much. And another text that's really important in this regard is the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, right, by Sanatana Goswami. And in that Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it's being charted the development of different stages of devotion and different realms of divine service, right, and different stages of purity, right, and on the path of pure devotion, right. And so that's charted in different ways, right? There's the journey of Narada, then there's the journey of Gopakumar, and what's being presented to us is this gradation of consciousness, gradation of devotion, gradation of service to the Lord, right? So this is also an important theme in the Ramananda Sambad, right? This landmark conversation that takes place between Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai, that's recorded in Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? And it's very central to Srila Sridhar Maharaj's style of discourse, right? Appreciating gradation and understanding what progress really means, right? Moving from different levels of consciousness actually means, right? And so this verse is another important verse within all this consideration of gradation, of consciousness. And so, and this gradation is being described here. It's starting at a very high level, right? There are different points from which we can begin a gradation of consciousness. This verse is starting from a high level beyond the stage of liberation, right? Jumping over, you know, so many stages of evolution in our human plane, but starting from this pure platform beyond liberation, and actually gradation within the Lord's own Leela, different types of Leela of the Lord. And it helps us. This verse is also important in helping us to understand what is the position of Krishna Leela, right? Why do we worship Krishna as supreme, right? Why are we Hare Krishnas? Why are we members of the Krishna consciousness movement, right? Why Krishna? This is a very important question that we should all be able to answer to ourselves and to others, right? Why not Narayan? Why not Vishnu? Why not Ramachandra? Of course, we worship all of them, but why have we particularly celebrated Krishna as not only Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, but Swayam Bhagavan, means the Lord himself, the original Lord, the fountainhead, right? We hear our gurus use that expression, the fountainhead of God, of divinity, the original source of all forms, all manifestations, all phases of the divine. Why Krishna? So this verse in that sense is also very important and very helpful. And so then this brings us to another phrase, the science of rasa, right? The science of rasa. How do we make assessment, right, within manifestations of divinity? How do we make assessment? How do we grade different forms of God, you know, in a sense, right? How do we make distinction? What's the determining factor in understanding the gradation within divinity? And so this verse is really crucial here in making that, and it gives us the answer. The answer is rasa, right? Rasa is the key. You could say the gold standard, right? Rasa is the standard by which gradation within divinity will be assessed. It is how much, in other words, how much rasa is there? How do you make a distinction between Allah, you know, between Vishnu, between Krishna, between Ramachandra, between God? You know, what's the standard? What's the criteria? How much rasa is there, right? And that's what's being pointed out here. In other words, how much love, how much sweetness, how much intimacy is available, right? So this is how our Rupanuga Charyas have made their assessment, right, on the basis of rasa. And so how much intensity of feeling, divine sentiment, divine relationship, closeness, love, sweetness, how much of that is there in the relationship with that form of divinity? That's what Rupa Goswami is looking at here and assessing here. And so so he begins Vaikunta Janito Varamadhu Puri Tatapido Sotsavad. So he's saying higher than Vaikunta. So again, right, he's starting from this really high level. He's starting from Vaikunta, which means Vishnu. So higher than Vaikunta, he says, is Mathura, right? And by Mathura is meant, right, Mathura, that is the birthplace of Krishna. Right? So he says, he starts right off the bat saying Vaikunta is higher than Mathura. Why? Janito, right? The Janma Leela means the birth pastimes of the Lord. They take place in Mathura. So this is one thing that is missing in the Vaikuntha Leela, right? In Narayan's abode. That there's no birth. The Lord Narayan is eternally existent, right? He doesn't have parents, right? There's no birth, pastime, all these things, but he's simply eternally existent. And it's interesting, right, this point, because it kind of like challenges so many conventional ideas about who God is, right? Because conventionally speaking, we'll say, well, hang on, God is eternally existing. God doesn't have parents. God doesn't have a birth. So from a more conventional standpoint, Narayan looks more supreme, right? Plus he's got four arms, right? That's definitely a lot more impressive. So that's the conventional way of thinking. But from the standpoint of rasa, there's actually less development there. There's less of a relationship that's possible. There's less sweetness. There's less intimacy. The range, the spectrum of relationships is reduced, is narrowed, because he can't have parents. It means that relationship of someone experiencing being the mother of God, the father of God, that's some very unique. Like, where you can also ask, like, where does that come from? You know, we hear that this material world is like a perverted reflection of the spiritual plane, right? So we can also say, well, that sentiment of being a mother, like, does it have a place in the eternal world? Like, that's a very deep feeling that people can have, right? Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada described the love of a mother for their child as the purest type of love in this world. So where does that come from? And does that have a place in the spiritual world, right? And generally that's something that's neglected in religious discourse, but not so here. So from the perspective of rasa, that's an important point, right? Can you be God's mother? Like, is that included in your God system, in your religion, in your system of thought? Is there, okay, not for me. Like, I want a religion where there's a possibility to love God like his mom. Like, do you have that? Okay, goodbye. So this is what the science of rasa is, right? So Rupa Goswami is saying here that is not available. That relationship is not available in Vaikuntha. And so therefore the rasa is undeveloped, right? The rasa is limited. Sometimes Vaikuntha is referred to as the plane of 2.5 rasas, right? Which is quite funny in its way. 2.5. Why? Because we hear 5. Rupa Goswami discusses 5 principal rasas, 5 principal relationships, types of loving emotional exchange that are available with the Lord, right? Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhura, right? The passive relationship, the servitor relationship, the friendship relationship, the parental relationship, and finally the lover relationship, right? And so Vaikuntha, there's Shanta Rasa, there's the passive relationship where there's full adherence, full surrender to the Lord, but no active relationship, you know. So generally that refers to plant life, kind of animals. So there's Shanta Rasa. There's also Dasya Rasa. Vaikuntha is generally pervaded by Dasya Rasa, the mood of servitorship, right? Where, and in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, there's one very charming moment when Gopa Kumar, because Gopa Kumar, he's intrinsically a Vrindavan Bhakta. He has the sentiment of a cowherd boy in Vrindavan, right? And so he has this type of, you know, what does Vrindavan mean? It's where there's this mood of spontaneous, natural, intimate relationship with the Lord. And Gopa Kumar's on this whole journey, right? We're talking about the gradation. So Gopa Kumar is on this whole journey, moving from one plane to another in a systematic, step-by-step manner. And so at one point he reaches Vaikuntha, but he doesn't quite fit in there because he can't quite jive with the with the formality, right? And we hear this one moment when he sees Lord Narayan in the distance, and he's naturally very attracted, and he wants to hug him, he wants to embrace him, which you can do in Vrindavan, but you can't do that in Vaikuntha. And so Gopakumar starts running towards him to like hug him in this very spontaneous mood. And then some of the Vaikuntha Vasis, they stop him. Oh, what are you doing? You can't relate with the Lord like that, that's very offensive. You can't do that here, And he feels very sad about that, because he has another mood, which is possible in Vrindavan, but not in Vaikuntha. This friendship where you can climb on the Lord's shoulders, you can share food and so on, right? You can play with the Lord. And so that's absent. But then there's also half, right? The 2.5, and it's explained because some of the servitors of Lord Narayan, they have some closeness. There may be some like restrained level of intimacy and closeness, like I like one analogy one devotee used, like an old butler, like in a wealthy family, they may have a butler, and like an old family servant, like they have their role and there's lots of formality, but because they're like close to the family, then they may like slightly cross over the boundary sometimes, right? Like it verging a little bit on friendship, but not quite there, but verging on it, right? And so yeah, and then there's also an element of Madhura Rasa, but not really, because that's confined to one person, Lakshmi Devi. Narayan has one consort. He's very civilized in that sense. Krishna is not so civilized in that sense from a conventional perspective. So there's not really Madhura Rasa. So that's Vaikuntha. But then Mathura is where Krishna takes birth, and his parents are Vasudeva and Devaki, and so they have this special type of connection, love, relationship with the Lord as a parent, right? So the rasa in Mathura is more developed because of that. Then tatapi rasotsava vrindaranyam, then saying that more developed than Mathura is Vrindavan. Why? Because the rasa dance takes place there, right? There's more with this, special amorous dance with the gopis, right? This takes place in Vrindavan. So there's more development of the rasa. The relationships that are available are more developed, right? So the spectrum of relationships increases, and it's more intense in Vrindavan. So therefore, Vrindavan is considered higher than Mathura. Then Udara Pani Ramana Tatrapi Govardhana, right? Then higher than Vrindavan is Govardhan, right? Because there more intimate pastimes take place between Krishna and his devotees. Then higher than Govardhan is Radha Kund, right? Radha Kunda Mihati Dohulapate, Prema Mipta Plavana. There the prema, the divine love, is overflowing, right? And so here, more exclusive pastimes take place between Krishna and the Braja Gopis. And one way, Srila Maharaj has explained this so wonderfully, as he always does, is he explains that, Radha Kund is the place where dedication reaches its zenith point, right? Like, what does Radha Kund actually mean in terms of consciousness, in terms of ontology? We know it's not just a place, but it means where the spirit of dedication reaches its acme, reaches its highest point, where the Braja Gopis, where Srimati Radharani and the Braja Gopis are giving their hearts to the utmost, right? And then in response to that, Krishna is also giving himself. That is how you access Krishna, through the spirit of dedication. And so because the dedication is so high, so elevated, so evolved, then Krishna is also coming out with himself more, giving himself more. He's coming out more. And so this is what makes Radha Kund the highest place. So this has been identified, Radha Kund has been identified as the highest place in the spiritual sky. And then we also should bring in here, because we are also followers of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, then we also have to mention here, right, that this is something that he discussed, and he made this point, right? And perhaps this was earlier discussed by Rupa Goswami and other Acharyas, I'm not sure, but we know that Srila Saraswati Thakur spoke this point, and our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj and Srila Śrī Maharaj also discussed this, that then this brings us back to Govardhan, right? That why has special emphasis been given to Govardhan? Different reasons, but this is one. That, so their thinking is, okay, Radha Kund is the highest place, right? And then the conventional line of thought would be, oh, what's the best place? What's the number one place? Let me just go there, right? Oh, Rupa Goswami says in Upadeśāmṛta, Radha Kund's the highest place, and I'll just go live there and do my bhajan there, do my service there. And there are many who do that, right? But the line of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his approach to this is the cautious one. Like, oh, Rupa Goswami says Radha Kund is the highest place, then I will stay one step below. Then I will stay in Govardhan, right? I'm not qualified to stay in such an elevated area, but I will stay one step below. My gurus, they will stay there. My gurus will stay in Govardhan and directly serve Śrī Śrī Radha Govinda. But I am in a more humble platform, lower platform. I will stay one step below in Govardhan, right? And we heard their vision was that we would stay in Govardhan. We will leave early in the morning, stop in Kusum Sarovar, collect flowers and service paraphernalia, and then go to Radha Kund. We will assist our gurus in Radha Kund in their service to Radha Krishna. And then at the end of our day of service, we will return to our shelter in Govardhan, right? This is their line of thought. And so for this reason, Govardhan has been emphasized so much by our gurus and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he wanted to spend his last days in Govardhan, right? And he, to the point where he'd actually requested one follower to build a hut for him, this Balaram Kanda. He requested him to construct a place for him. And ultimately, there wasn't enough time, and Saraswati Thakur ended up departing the world in Calcutta. But there was that incident, right? That at the same time that Saraswati Thakur was leaving, this Balaram Pandit Govardhan had this vision of Saraswati Thakur coming to him and saying, Balaram, I have come. Balaram, I have come. And, he's in Govardhan and having this vision of Saraswati Thakur arriving there. And it was so vivid, right? It was so lifelike that he felt this wasn't just an ordinary dream, right? And so he sent a telegram to Calcutta to ask how was Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, and he received the message back. He had just departed in the early hours of that morning. So that was the desire of Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur. And Śrīla Śrī Maharaj, he told our Gurudev also, that if you are, Śrīla Śrī Maharaj didn't want so many ashrams to be built, right? Śrīla Śrī Maharaj's mood was to have like very few temples where something very substantial could be cultivated, right? Rather than diluting the energy into many temples you have to maintain, just have a very few that you can give more energy to and keep concentrated, pure cultivation of the substance, right? That was the mood of Śrī Śrī Upadeśāmṛta. But he particularly told Gurudev, but make something in Govardhan. If you're going to make something over here, between Mathura, Vrindavan, Govardhan, make something in Govardhan, because Govardhan is our place, right? And so Govardhan is where Gurudev initially began to establish something. And our Gurudev also expressed that desire to stay in Govardhan, and in fact he wanted his samadhi to be there, and which wasn't practically possible in the end, but for that reason a Pushpa samadhi has been made there for our Gurudev. So Govardhan has been given this special importance for us. Oh, thank you, Ananda Krishna, for sharing a photo here. Our Govardhan temple, Śrī Sridhar Swami Seva Ashram. And so this temple is manifest so beautifully. And Giriraj, Sri Giriraj is being worshipped there. And it is just like a 10-minute walk from the Govardhan hill. Actually, location is pretty amazing. Hi, Sri Govardhan Dham. So yeah, so this verse is very important, helping us understand this gradation of rasa, this development of rasa. And we can read through the verse. Vaikuntad janito varamadu puri tatsapi rasotsavad vrindaranya mudara pani ramana tatsapi govardhana radha kunda mihapi gopulapate prema mrita plavana puryad asya virajito giritate sevam vivekina ka. Higher than Vaikuntha is Mathura, where Krishna took birth. Higher therein is Vrindavan, where Krishna enjoys the rasa dance. Higher therein is Govardhan, where Krishna plays amorously. And higher than Govardhan is Radha Kund, where the nectar of Krishna's prem overflows. Would any wise soul not serve Radha Kund at the base of Govardhan? And so, occasionally when we are very fortunate, we may visit Radha Kund, take a few drops on our head. And you'll see in the coming verses, Rupa Goswami mentions that one who bathes in Radha Kund, they will achieve the rarest type of divine love. But we understand it's not so simple to bathe in those waters. So we don't put our feet in Radha Kund, but we take some drops on our head. We will do arati to the waters of Radha Kund. But we'll come to those verses. We can discuss that more. And we should go to Śrī Śrī Upadeśāmṛta's commentary, actually, before we run out of time for today. Here we are. So, illumination by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami. Okay, this is very nice. Makes me feel good. This Śrī Śrī Upadeśāmṛta is talking about what we talked about. Glad I didn't get anything wrong. In his verse, Vaikuntha Janito Vada, Srila Rupa Goswami has summarized a gradation, a hierarchy of development. How? How does the gradation within the environment develop from down to up? What is the criterion? Rasa. Rasa, the juice that attracts us all. The main thing. It is the basis of this most desirable structure. What is the standard to judge the monetary standing of different countries? Which country is wealthy and which country is poor? Gold is the standard. By gold, we can judge the strength of the currency of different nations. Similarly, rasa is the common standard to measure all different opinions, philosophies, and ontological conceptions. Through rasa, we can measure and say what is right, what is wrong, what is bad, what is good, and what is better. According to the quality and quantity of rasa found, what is of lower and higher order is to be judged. Rasa means anandam, sukh, happiness. It is the common standard for all. From the atheist of the lowest order to the devotee of the highest order, none can deny that they want happiness. None will say that they won't avoid misery. All are common here. We are searching for bliss. So the common standard of measurement is rasa. Blissfulness, beauty, charm, sweetness, love, affection, they are all of the same plane. And we cannot deny that we are all searching for that. Only the fields may be different. For such joy, someone gives their life for their country. For such joy, another puts a dagger in someone else's body. A dacoit is a joy hunter. A patron is a joy hunter. Humanitarians and philanthropists are joy hunters. The salvationists are joy hunters, and the devotees are also. But the quality of the joy must be taken into account. That is all important. We must find desirable rasa, eliminating undesirable rasa. When a thief steals, they feel some pleasure. And when someone gives something away, they feel another type of pleasure. There is gradation between them. There is a qualitative difference between the pleasure of a plunderer and the pleasure of a giver. So all search for joy, but they find joy of different qualities. What sort of joy do we want? Joy that brings a reaction. By committing dacoity, a reaction, punishment comes very soon. And some of you may not be familiar with the word dacoit or dacoity. It's referring to like rogues or thieves, bandits, you could say, bandits. The word's not so well known in modern English. Gunda is the Bengali word that is used. So by committing dacoity, or by robbery, you could say, a reaction, punishment comes very soon. What sort of joy does not bring any reaction in its retinue, but instead moves in an ever-increasing line? That is what is wanted. Joy in which the quality improves for time eternal. That is necessary for us. Father, mother, country, these are all transient. They are temporary provisions that meet dissolution. In the midst of all these things, we must all seek out that eternal joy. There are many classes amongst the animals in the gradation. Gandha Vedi, Rupa Vedi, Rasa Vedi, Shabda Vedi, and Sparsha Vedi. Those that see things only by scent, that recognize who has come before them by scent and not by the eye, are called Gandha Vedi. Who is coming near? Is it an ant, a mosquito, or a cat? Or amongst the various types of ants, which type of ant is coming? They can understand all this only by a particular measurement of the scent. Those that can know who has come before them by their voice and not by the eye are called Shabda Vedi. Those that sound, right? Shabda is referring to sound. Those that can understand who has come before them by touch and not by the eye are called Sparsha Vedi. When a fish approaches another fish, for example, one fish can understand through the peculiar waves made by the other that particular fish is coming nearby. As we can discriminate with our eye and identify humans, either male or female, that are coming towards us, others can understand this by scent, by sound, or otherwise. In spiritual life, similarly, we must move according to differentiation in sweetness and ananda. We have no eye to guide us, but we have something like intuition, and that is our searching attitude. The search for Krishna is our guide. Automatic ananda, inspiration, anurag, affinity, this is our guide. We have everything, eyes, ears, and so on, but our guiding principle is affinity for the center. According to the degree of that, so many things are there in an infinite classification. The main thing is our attraction towards the center, towards Krishna, the beautiful. To search for eternal beauty is the main thing, the main current in our life. How wonderful is that? To search for eternal beauty is the main thing, the main current in our life, right? This is the point, right? This is the thing. Naturally, we are drawn to beauty. That is natural for all of us as souls, as beings, right? As Atma. It is natural for us to search for beauty. But the only point is to search for eternal beauty, right? Not to search after the ephemeral beauty of this worldly plane, but to search after lasting, eternal beauty. Right? We hear this one time when someone asked Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, like, what's your mission all about, really? Like, what's at the core? And of course, he gave different answers at different times. But on this one occasion, he said, pleasure. We need pleasure. But we don't want the temporary pleasure that this world has to offer. We want lasting pleasure, lasting joy, right? So that is our quest. We are not asking people to give up love, beauty, emotion, attachment, all these things, joy. We're only asking, we are being asked to give up the temporary manifestation of these things, the manifestation of those things that ultimately leads to misery, that comes with a reaction, as Śrī Śrī Maharaj was saying earlier, right? So our quest is a beauty, but not ordinary beauty, eternal beauty. We're holding out for the good stuff, right? We have a high standard. We have a high standard. So that's such a beautiful line. To search for eternal beauty is the main thing, the main current in our life. Ha ha Krishna Prananath Brajendra Nandan, Kaha Jao, Kaha Pao, Murali Vadan. This is an expression of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? When he's in a mood of divine ecstasy, searching for Krishna. Where am I to run? In which plane can I find the center of the current? Such a sweet current is coming to me. Where is its center? And who are nearest to that center? Who can command the same current? So the gold standard is everyone's inner necessity, rasa, anandam. But we must understand that ananda develops only through self-giving. It is actually by giving, by abnegation, that we thrive, that we get more, or the maximum rasa. Right? And, just as a side point, we can also say here, one of the reasons for that is that embracing the spirit of self-giving, that's coming into consonance with our inner nature, right? So in one sense, you can say, by embracing our constitutional nature, that's how we can access the greatest joy, by coming into harmony with our true self, right? Because now we're running after joy and pleasure and all these things, but from the standpoint of a misconceived self, right? We're approaching life as Purusha, right? As an enjoyer, that we will use our senses to enjoy. But if we're able to make that switch, right, that I want to serve, right, rather than I want to take from the environment, I want to serve the environment. Not that I want others to serve me, but I want to serve others. The more we can actually align with, that's the word I'm looking for, alignment, right? The more we can align with that true intrinsic nature, the more we will access lasting joy, substantial joy, eternal joy. By dedication, we find higher quality rasa and we advance from one part to another. We march on and on, more and more, until ultimately we reach the spontaneous dedication in Braja, full of love all around. By dedication, we can acquire and live in that atmosphere, the country of love. It is not non-scientific. It is according to our degree of self-surrender that we can hope to attain the highest quality of rasa, taste and love of Krishna. The absolute rasa is tasted according to our degree of surrender. Do we have our host there? Can you scroll us down a little bit? Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. According to Srimad Mahaprabhu's conception, Srila Rupa Goswami writes this verse, Vaikuntha Janito Vada. Srila Rupa Goswami is the Acharya of Abhideya. How we can reach the highest goal, the means to the end, right? So these three things, right? Everyone here knows, Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan. So important for us to understand, right? Understanding our real position with the environment, the real nature of the environment. Sambandha, then Abhideya is our practicing life, the practice to reach Prayojan, which is the goal. So Rupa Goswami is Abhideya Acharya. How we can reach the highest goal, the means to the end. And what is the end? That was given by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. He is the Prayojan Acharya. But what is the position of this or that thing? What is our place amidst those positions? What is our purpose in life? What should be our relationship with the environment? All of this was given mainly by Srila Sanatana Goswami. He is the Acharya of Sambandha Dhyan. No worries, Ananda Krishna. Good to know you're feeling the message. You forgot to keep hosting. Good sign. We should all be like, just like we read one sentence and like, that's it. Can't talk anymore. Like, meeting's over. Just need to sit with that for a few hours. That means you're paying attention. What is the conception of Krishna? How are other gods connected to him? What is the position of this world, of other planes? How are they all adjusted together? Knowledge of the proper adjustment of all these things within the universe, both divine and mundane, is called Sambandha Gyan. Srila Sanatana Goswami is said to be authority in this department. He has come to give us this sort of understanding. Our Sambandha Gyan comes mainly from him. What is what, which is which, what thought is to be placed where. With the proper conception, we can have a general idea of the whole system of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Srila Sanatana Goswami is given this structure in his Brihad Bhagavatamrita. In an elaborate manner, he is given the gradation. Bhuvar, Swa, Maha, Jana, Tapa. I think that's a typo there, that Bhuvar, no? Jana, Tapa, and Satya Loka, then Viraja and Brahma Loka, then Shiva Loka, Vaikuntha, Ayodhya, Dwarka, Mathura, Vrindavan, Govardhan, and Radha. So these are like all the different stages. And as I mentioned earlier, in this verse, Rupa Goswami is starting from a very high point, from Vaikuntha, right? jumping over all these other places which are more within the relativity of the temporary world, right? And yeah, and he also hasn't mentioned Yodhya, right? Place of Ramachandra's Leela, but he's made a leap. Śrī Śrī Upadeśāmṛta is another place, like he makes a leap to Mathura. So it's this very like kind of like tight focus here. Here we find a comparative study of the hierarchy of the ontological world. The whole philosophy of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas is depicted here. So this is really nice. This is also like showing us like why this Śrī Śrī Upadeśāmṛta just like said in like one sentence like why this verse is so important. Because as I mentioned earlier, like if I'm thinking of all the talks I've heard from Srila Govinda Maharaj and Śrī Śrī Upadeśāmṛta, I feel like this verse has been quoted by them more than any other one. And here in one sentence, Śrī Śrī Upadeśāmṛta is saying why this verse is so important. We find a comparative study of the hierarchy of the ontological world. The whole philosophy of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas is depicted here, right? So it's really such an important verse for us. In Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Srila Sanatana Goswami has shown in this gradation how the practitioner, sadhaka, is taken to a particular place, lives there for some time, finds dissatisfaction, is again given some connection, and then taken to an upper layer. There, after some time, they again feel dissatisfaction, some arrangement is made, some higher connection reaches them, and they are taken to a higher plane. In this way, they are gradually taken up to Vrindavan through different positions, Vaikuntha, Ayodhya, and Dwarka, and then Vrindavan. They progress through Satya Loka, Shiva Loka, Vaikuntha Loka. The life of Gopakumar begins in a lower plane and gradually goes up to show the importance of the different planes. Sometimes for the time being, he tries to adjust with the environment of a particular plane, but he cannot. He fails and feels dissatisfied. Again, a new thing is given to him. He tries his best to accommodate it, given the circumstances and paraphernalia, but he cannot. His inner tendency doesn't allow him to settle there permanently. He feels uneasiness and dissatisfaction. Then a higher plane, then the next higher plane, and then the next higher one. In this way, he won't be free or feel satisfied in any environment until and unless he reaches his own plane. This process illustrates that in the journey of a soul, Sukriti is in the background. And there's another place too where Śrīla Śrī Upadeśāmṛta is explaining, like, this is also the power of the mantra, right? And this is the power of chanting. We can say also the Maha Mantra that it's been given by our gurus, because the mantra that we're chanting, and we can also say Gopakumar, his whole journey started when he received initiation, and he received this Gopal mantra from his guru. And so that mantra has its own potency and destination in mind. And so chanting that mantra with faith, it will start to bring us to where it wants to go, right? And so this is also one of the points of significance, right? In faithfully chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and other mantras and prayers that have come to us from our gurus and the scriptures, that they will bring us, right? They have their own destination in mind. They will bring us. They won't allow us to be satisfied in anything less than anywhere lower than where they want to take us. Right? So, okay, well, maybe we'll stop there for today. I'm really happy we could go through this verse today. Such an important verse. for all of us. Wait, I've lost our. Here we are. And welcome, Ramananda Prabhu's also joined us. Indu Mati Didi's also here, quietly. Sending her dandavat to everyone. So yeah, very Chaitanya Doya sending her love. So yes, very important verse to us to contemplate and understanding what is the ideal that our gurus have given us. And would love to hear something from yourself, Subhasini Didi, if you feel inspired.
And that's really, actually, I don't think I have anything to add to more than what you said. It's very beautiful. And beautiful to go through Guru Maharaj's commentary also. It's very, very beautiful. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, isn't it? The way that Srila Maharaj explains things, you know, it's so makes it so broad, right? So universal. It's like he's speaking in language that anyone could appreciate, right?
Yeah, and this the explaining, why this criterion, to have that rasa started. That's also, it's beautiful, giving that. Yeah. Very scientifically, is presented.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very scientific, very sweet, and very relevant.
Very relevant, yes, yeah. Very beautiful. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Guru. Guru Mati is here. You have some of your friends here. Ganga Leela's also here. And Dumati's an angel here, taking care of everyone, taking care of Gurudev's house.
Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev and his sweet devotees. I have a question.
Okay, Indumati's bringing something up.
Guru Maharaj saying in the internet session, is it Rasa Anandam or Anandam?
Oh, okay. Indumati is bringing up this Anandam. It's they're used. It's just different ways of saying the same. In Sanskrit, sometimes they put the M on the end, sometimes they don't. Like Chaitanya Charitamritam or Chaitanya Charitamrita. I don't know if there's really any Suvasanji. I don't know if you can explain that. I don't know the reason for it. It seems like it's the same thing. Sometimes they like to put.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's just a way of sometimes saying it, So the way sometimes they cut short, they don't pronounce the A at the end,
Right,
like
right.
Also, sometimes similarly Anandam, Ananda, it's the same thing like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you say when you put the M on the end, that's like a bit more formal? Would you say? Or no? No difference.
Yeah, it depends. I don't think it is like that, but
yeah,
it is like
as far as we know, no difference.
You said it, I was thinking about that beautiful brother, and I was like,
Ananda Krishna.
I didn't know, and then it was just very nice, but I know it's like a necessity to cultivate.
Yeah, that explanation was so wonderful.
The manifestation of pleasure, seeking beauty. That we're to search for eternal beauty. The main that's beautiful. We were talking today in the car how a lot of the disciples and practitioners, they get to the Prabhupada's, we're not the body concept incorrect. We're having nice guitar. And then hearing that, it was almost like Srila Prabhupada saying, see, the beauty is in the devotees and seeing their inspired side and you know, and that's the pleasure that we're after, to support each other's service. So when you're reading that, I felt Srila Prabhupada was actually, you know, supporting our discussion today. Hare Krishna.
Right. Well, any last comments from anyone, or any question or anything anyone wants to bring up before we close for today?
Where are you, Vishaka? Is it in the
Oh,
near
I
the
just
Govinda
arrived. I just came into Navadip. I met with Indumati and Murari in Calcutta, and spent a couple nights there, and then we just drove in. I ran to take a little prasadam, and then I ran to catch the Zoom meeting. So
Wow, okay, wonderful. You're there. Okay.
yeah, so I feel so blessed to be here. Oh, thank you, Didi. And it's yes, very fortunate. I feel so fortunate. It's Gurudev's disappearance day, right? On
Yes.
Monday. And so I wanted to be here for that, and somehow everything aligned and I was able to make it by divine grace, I feel. So here we are. So I'll share some news from the festival here, and
Okay, wonderful.
Suvasini, she was just in India. She wanted to come to Navadip but couldn't make it this time. But next time is hoping to come.
Yes, he's waiting for everybody to be joyous here and seek the pleasure of this amazing eternal abode. So it's for everybody to come and, you know, remember and celebrate the teachings. Monday is going to be an ecstatic day globally. So hopefully Vishaka Didi, Murari Prabhu, Nityananda Ram Prabhu, myself will try to do as many videos as we can from the day, particularly Pushpanjali. Pushpanjali will be 9 a.m. India time. So that's the most glorious time of the year for our devotion, to tap into those gateways of celebration. So yeah, hopefully we will be able to give you some live Facebook. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Wonderful.
All right. So thank you all so much for your good association, and so happy we can go through this important text together. Jai Shilvati Sandar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shilvati Rakshakar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Śrī Upadeśāmṛta Rupa Goswami ki Jai, Śrī Navadip Dham ki Jai, all the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki Jai, Śrī Harinam Singh Kirtan ki Jai, Gaur Premanand. Hari Bol. See you all next time. Dandavad.
Jai.